So another thing that we're doing before Josh starts, just because I want to intro, this is the first time Hollywood WordPress is now completely live online. So we are going to try to start doing this from now on. If for whatever reason you cannot make it because it's snowing outside and you have no more shoes and there's
a pop-up concert going on down there.
Or there's a pop-up concert because we're on Hollywood Boulevard and that is known to happen. We're going to try to stream these things online, and then they're automatically going to be put on YouTube right afterwards. So if you seriously can't make it down here and then you seriously cannot watch live, then you can still go to YouTube and watch it afterwards. So we're now live. Josh, feel free to take it away. I'm going to put this thing in full screen mode.
Okay. Thanks for having me, y'all. Roy and everybody else. This is really kind of you. I'm happy to be here. My name is Josh Pollock, and I'm a WordPress plugin developer. And like Roy said, I write a lot about the REST API, and I happen to have built a WordPress plugin around the WordPress REST API for simple A/B testing. It's called Ingot. We'll get into that in a bit. I want to do a little bit of a background on A/B testing, why you should do it, where you should do it. So let me share my screen here, and I'll start my presentation. See if I can get this over onto here.
Where's he coming from,
Josh, where are you located?
I'm in Tallahassee, Florida. So that's way north Florida, which is great. I love it here. So can you see my presentation now, everybody?
Yep.
Yes.
Okay, so as I said, my name is Josh Pollock. My website is joshpress.net, and the A/B testing plugin is at ingothq.com. If you don't know me, I'm Josh. That's what I look like if you've forgotten. And I make Ingot, and also I have a company called Caldera WP. We make a drag and drop form builder. So why A/B testing is a big question. We've all sort of heard that this is a thing we should do, but we don't know why, where, and how. So reason one, money is nice, right? A/B testing, if done right, should increase our conversions. And if our website has a point that's profit-driven, right, we won't need more signups to an email list that we use to monetize our site. We're selling a product, right? These things are that we want to A/B test so we can increase conversions. We can find the ideal version of our site that converts the most. The other reason is that before we can have a business that makes money, we need to do proper business planning. And that starts with a canvas, right? We put our ideas down. This was the one for Ingot, one version of it. And we make a lot of assumptions here. And we can actually use A/B testing in all of its different forms to test all of these assumptions. So why you need to test all of the things. And that could be, you're starting your business, you have a business plan, you want to test your assumptions, and it's an easy way to do it. You do a little bit of controlled science. I think this is the right way to communicate the value of my business. Test that assumption. Figure out if it's correct or not. And then once you're live, you want to increase your conversions, you can sell more, you can grow quicker, right? So when we ask, what should I be testing? The answer is simply all the things, though one thing at a time, because science, right? We want to test our messages. We want to test our color schemes. We want to test what audiences we're going to, how we're communicating with them, right? So what should we test? What should I sell, right? If you're in the early stage of a business, hopefully you have a problem you're hoping to solve. You might not have a business, but what's the best way to solve it? Is that giving away a product and then putting a service to that, coaching, a support service? Is that selling a WordPress plugin, a WordPress theme? Isn't how much to sell it for? Can you make a lot of sales for a little bit amount of money? Or would you make more money, but if you had less sales at a greater price? Or would you actually have more sales at a greater price? Because some people value things if they're at a higher price. How should you describe it? What colors should you use? How to call the users to action, and where to call users to action, right? So I'm assuming most people in the room are web developers of some type, and they've built a website that's got a big, sign up now, join now sort of button. Where do you put that button? What color is it? Do you put it at the bottom? Do you put it at the top? Do you put it at the top and the bottom? Is it red? Is it green? Is it contrasting to the color scheme? These kind of questions, they're really hard, and we all have an educated opinion on them. But if we want to do it right, and by right, I mean the way that sells the most, gets the most clicks, we've got to try out a lot of things. And that's where A/B testing comes in. So where to test? I mean, test everywhere. And when I say test everywhere, I don't just mean on your site. I mean across your social media, your pay-per-click advertising, right? Everything you do can be a test. Your conversations can be tests. Right, so on your on your website, that's a no-brainer. You should be A/B testing. On social media, right, you can vary your different messages, right? You're going to share content multiple times anyway. On Twitter, you only have a very narrow, limited time to get it into somebody's timeline, so you need to share it a lot. And every time you do it, change the message, change the UTM tags, track what works, track what doesn't work. You can learn from that. Advertising, Twitter, Google, Facebook, these sort of pay-per-clicks, they have great analytics. So use those. They have built-in conversion tracking, and you can try 5 different versions of an ad. There you go. You have multivariate testing. And I did make a good point there that we've been talking in terms of like A/B testing. And A/B testing doesn't equal multivariate testing, but in this context, it's we can sort of interchange them, right? A/B testing would be, we have 2 things that we're testing, A versus B. Multivariate testing is where you're either doing a tournament of A/B tests, it's A versus B, and then winner versus C, winner versus D, or multivariate where you're mixing it up, where you have 5, 6 messages, and you're trying them all out as you go. So how to do it? There are a lot of options out there. I'm particularly fond of the WordPress, as I imagine all of y'all are. And also I've been working on this plugin Ingot for a while now, and that makes it really simple to do it inside of WordPress. So no third-party services, it's all in the WordPress dashboard. And there's no analysis on your part. It does the analysis under the hood. It does the math for you. So demo time. Let me switch out of this. And I'm going to show a video of one of our new features and sort of narrate it as we go. And then I can do a little bit more of live demo. So let's share this screen here. Oh, I lost it. You guys are getting recursion. Okay, can you see the YouTube page?
Yep.
Okay, let's go full screen there. So what this is looking at, by the way, is this is the Ingot HQ website. You can see I have it open in 2 windows here. I'm just going to start this video. And so, yeah, this is live right now on the Ingot website. You can see we have this headline, "Your Website Smarter." I like that. I spent a lot of time thinking about that. But I have 4 or 5 other options. We're actually testing that right now live on Ingot HQ to see if people will click that button right there, that nice buy now button. We like them doing that. So we're swapping out that content. You look, that's a incognito tab, and there's a different headline there, right? Because using the incognito tab because it's a different set of cookies. And this is a type of test where we switch out some content and then we test whether or not the some action is taken. We call this a destination test. So that can be, do they reach a page, right, of any ID? So if you have a sales funnel, you would want to put that either at the beginning or the end, depending on what you were testing, like a contact form, a lead form. Or this also works with easy digital downloads, WooCommerce, and Give. So when somebody adds something to the cart, that's actually what we're testing. When somebody makes a sale, you can register a conversion. With Give, when somebody makes a donation. So here I've just switched over to the staging site, so I can like recreate it. This is our little admin app here. It's all built out with Angular and the WordPress REST API if anybody ever wants to nerd out about this. So It's a pretty simple process. Roy's can take a lot of credit for making this so simple. Right, so we have a bunch of different types of tests here. Most of them are changing something about a link, what the button text is, what the button color is. And also we have these destination tests where instead of we're measuring direct clicks on what's changing, we're testing some other behavior based on static content. So we have, as they said, we have these different types. We have add to cart for EDD, add to cart for WooCommerce, donation for give, also page, right? So we just put in the ID of a page. In this case, we're doing add to cart. And you can alternatively change the tagline of WordPress to match the current variant. So this is it. I'm just putting in the different options here, adding a few variants. And I'll tweet out a link to this video if y'all want to watch it again. But we can do like A/B testing without the hassle is a different variant here. I know this is super meta that I'm like showing how we're testing our A/B testing plugin, but we do lots of tests. We designed a test today or this week that used a flyer, like an analog piece of paper that we were handing out of 3 different versions, 3 different codes on it to track conversions. It was pretty neat. We'll see how that goes. And so actually implementing this on your site is really just using a shortcode. We have in our UI, we have a copy button for the shortcode. We also have a shortcode inserter in the post editor. This is like the make theme builder that we're using in our on our site, but you can see that was like the static text there, and I'm just replacing it with a shortcode. And right, we have that button that opens a modal if necessary. But that's it. That's the entire implementation of the process. If you don't have to narrate it as you make your video, the whole thing should take about a minute or 2. And then that's it. It's going to do the math for you. It's going to start out by using a totally random process. So that's just to get baseline data. And then once it's got enough baseline data, it's going to move into selecting by default the best option most of the time. It'll still sometimes go random just to spice things up, see if it corrects itself if it's wrong. But it's going to mainly just do everything for you. We give you some very basic graphs, so you can see some outliers, learn what works, but for the most part, it's all automatic. It just works for you. Are there questions, or do you want me to demo the other way of doing it, which is changing content and measuring clicks directly?
Are there any questions? None so far.
Okay, so as I said, what we're doing now is we're doing a type of test. If I was to do like a call to action button, right before we were doing where we change some content and then we measure if people get to a page. We measure if they add a product to the cart, if they make a donation with give. But we can also just make a button, like a call to action button here. So then we're tracking direct clicks on it. So we can say this is going to go to my REST API course, right? I use this on my own personal site where I had a pop-up for a while that was telling people about my new course. By the way, I have a course, and I was testing the button that you clicked in that pop-up to go to the page. So this is, again, pretty easy. We can just design our button here. And I'll make mine pink with white text. And then we could do this like a sign up now, join now. Right, some people try some pretty aggressive stuff. What do you not want to learn? Right, so we can try a whole bunch of different options here. And then once we click save, and my debugger should probably have been turned off. Yeah, that probably broke everything. Let's do this again real quick. Right, so I have my group saved, and then when I go to the list, I can see this here. I can just copy this short code, go to a page. And I could paste that in, or I could use the button there and insert it. And that's it. That's the entire process. So I know in the beginning somebody was saying, it involves a pretty intense process, and I've looked at what it'll take to do this with other options before. When I was starting my other company called AirWP, I wanted to do testing, and I ended up just writing it in some filters into my functions.php, which honestly, like the beginning of this process, the prototype was there because that was too complicated for me. Also, people don't want to do like 2 versions of the same design, right? That's a cheap way of doing A/B testing is you make 2 versions and then you randomly switch between the 2. It's a pain in the butt, especially keeping them together. Having it all in one place where, right, I've got this A/B test here, but if I refresh, there's a certain chance it's going to go over. Oh, cookie. It's going to keep me in. But this is all it takes is pretty nice for me. Because I'm one of those people who knew A/B testing was a thing, and I was doing it using MailChimp, but then I couldn't remember which variants had won. And I was doing it very unscientifically through like quick filters in easy digital downloads where I'd like run it for a week and then turn it off for a week and then compare it. So this really was, for me as a business owner, sort of a solve my own problem, but I think it's a very useful thing for you if you have clients build it into your deal that you're going to set up A/B testing for them, and it's going to help improve their conversions over time. And you're going to come back in 6 months and look at the data. Come back in 3 months and look at the data, and say, we've been running these tests. This has gone well. This hasn't gone well. We've learned these things about your business. People respond to these colors, to these messages, and that's going to make you a more valuable developer to your clients. So, do we have any questions?
I was actually going to say, do you have any demos of the stats?
I'm not sure if anything in here is going to do it right now in my site that I can show. There's a screenshot of it on our website if this doesn't work. All right, because that doesn't have any stats. I just created these. There's a screenshot on ingothq.com. It's very minimal intentionally. I mean, at a point, we weren't even going to do stats. But here's the image, right? Where it just shows the different, each of the different variants, right? So this is a button test. It just shows us the different text that we were using. And it shows us the average conversion rate. And so this is really the minimum that you need, because at this stage, you can see that you have one clear winner. Everything else is pretty average. But if one of these was the whole way down here, Ingot would know better than to choose it. But it's still every now and then random. And also, that would be really good use for your business. If you were convinced that Get Started would really resonate, and you were planning on using that in your other advertising and your flyers, things like that, and you saw it had a 1% conversion rate where everything was averaging at 14%, well, you should stop doing that. You should take it out of the group. You should never use that slogan again. So yeah, that's what our stats look like.
Oh, there was a question,
The variables that actually got passed were like buttons. buttons. It gives you you're able to change color of the text and button. Does it also have an opportunity where you can like choose rounded corners versus square off corners, large button versus small versus medium? What choices are there in those terms?
So the question is, besides, so when you create a new button test, you can choose different colors, and for the background and for the text, can you choose different other options like border radius, you know, a larger button, a smaller button? You know, can you test more than just the two colors?
So my always answer to these types of questions is, well, I mean, you can test anything with this. It's super abstract. There's, you know, a very simple set of functions or REST API endpoints to do your own tests on. But no, we don't have that like in the UI yet. It's something that we've been thinking about in terms of like a CSS test, like change a CSS rule or set of rules. It's a little complicated because it can get unscientific quickly. One of the things about A/B testing is if you change one thing, you can attribute behavior changes based on that. If you change many things, well, then you have no idea what caused the change. Why is conversions bigger when I change 5 things? I don't know. Is it a combination of 5 things? Is it a combination of 3 things? Is it one of those things? I don't know. So CSS testing is very tricky. We could make it work as a custom thing. If you get in touch with us, we could work that out. And it's something that's on the roadmap, but it's not available right now. This is a plugin that's been designed from ground up to be user developer friendly, right? So it's, as you can see, it's, you know, point and click in the UI. Anybody should be able to do this, the basic understanding of WordPress, but it is under the hood very extensible for a qualified developer.
Have any other questions? Cool. All right, I guess we'll cut it there with Josh. And I want to thank Josh for joining us. That was a good kind of intro to both A/B testing and his plugin. I highly recommend doing A/B testing. At Disney, we do quite a bit of A/B testing. Usually when you get into the enterprise realm, you're going to see a lot of A/B testing because, again, not converting 10% is like thousands of dollars not converting. And so, yeah, you guys might not feel like, okay, that doesn't relate to me and my small 100 visitor a month website, but it can mean a lot because if you can have A/B testing done quickly and affordably, then that's one extra client you get a month. That's $50 more, $100 more, whatever it may be, which, you know, it does help. The one thing I will say that Josh did was there is a couple of algorithms that he put into place. And I know this because I know behind the scenes how it's built. Ideally, in an ideal world, you have a lot of visitors that are testing these A/B tests. So you have, there's no fixed number. It's not like you need 1,000 visitors a day, but you need a good chunk of visitors to really get good scientific backing to, let's say, this test won or this variable won. But if it does stay minimal, so if you're only getting, let's say, 10 visitors a day, 100 a week maybe, then it'll just stay random. It'll just keep on randomizing things. And yeah, eventually you can actually see that, all right, this button color combination or this text actually does convert better, even if it's completely randomized and it converts, you know, out of 10 people, it converted, you know, 5 times versus the other one converted once. Then, I mean, that's not a very big assumption, but it's still an assumption that can be made. So then you can actually then do a tournament. So then you can say, okay, let's take that and compare it to something else, right? You could also run the test longer. So if you have minimal traffic, instead of running the test for a couple days or a week, you could run it for a month to get the traffic you might need in total. It's another way to do it. So these are ways that you can either help your own website or obviously help your client's website. So I'm going to cut it off there. Thanks, Josh, for joining us.
Thank you for having me. That's really awesome of you.
Yes, we will make sure to bring you back next time we talk about the REST API. And in the meantime, feel free to check out his website, ingetHQ.com. We will, if you guys are interested in actually getting the plugin and testing it out, let me know, and I'm sure Josh will be happy to give us out a coupon code for it.
Yes, he will.
Cool. Thank you, Josh.
Thank you.